What did Darth Vader's buttons on his suit do? After Vader was burnt on Mustafar, he was then formed into his new suit, a suit in which caused him much pain and suffering throughout his years. This suit, however, was created by Sidious so that it would serve Vader as a life support system. Because of this, all parts of his suit would then work together in order to keep him alive. The most important aspect to his suit were the buttons on his control box, but what exactly do they do? Well, in the book Darth Vader, a 3D reconstruction log, we get an in-depth explanation and specific details on what each function is and what they do. So, let's get right into it. First, let's take a look at what his control box actually is. I mean, we've always seen this box in the center of his suit, but what exactly is it? Well, this box was basically the base of his life support system. It's where all the data would be sent from all areas of his body in order to keep him alive. Now, just a side note, Vader did undergo a few changes in his control box over the years. You can see the different colors on the buttons throughout these images, but don't worry, they all did the same thing regardless of the color. So by looking at his buttons, we can break it into 3 categories: the 3 slots on the top left, the 2 buttons on the right, and finally the 4 switches on the bottom. So let's start with the 3 slots. These slots were basically 3 display systems: the pulmonary system display, the respiratory system display, and finally the neural system display. These 3 displays would then work all together and collect data throughout his entire body. In order to transmit this data, Vader would have to have thousands of microneedles injected all throughout his flesh. It would create him to be in a constant pain, but it was needed for his survival. So next are the 2 big buttons that we see on the right. The blue button activated the suit's auto control function, and the red button was the suit's manual override. Underneath that, we then have the switches on the bottom. Now these were his command switches. The red one on the right was the system reset, and the remaining 3 were his programming touch plates. These 3 basically gave him the option to program whatever he wanted. And then finally we have the 2 rods that were on both sides of the control box. These 2 rods were the life function sensor arrays. So that was everything you needed to know about the control box, but there's more to this. Vader's belt. Now crazy enough, his belt was actually extremely important for his survival, and it wasn't just some fashion thing to make him look cool. Similar to the control box, the belt also had 3 main parts: the release button, which was in the middle, and then the 2 boxes that were both on the right and the left of him. Within them there would also be multiple buttons. These buttons would provide the option for him to have a CO2 vent, a heat vent, and allow him to adjust the temperature in the suit if he wanted. In case of any emergencies, he even had a small compartment that was hidden behind these boxes. This emergency box had a spare energy cell and a toolkit for repairs. The toolkit basically allowed him to replace any damages that might have happened to his suit during a battle. And the last thing in there was also a backup comlink, so if he ever was in danger, he could use it to signal for help. So with that said, I think you can now see how important his buttons truly were. I mean, if even some of these functions were even damaged, it could ultimately risk his life. It's why in Kenobi, when Obi-Wan strikes down the control box, Vader struggles so much to breathe after this, even before his helmet was even sliced off. Whether or not Obi-Wan knew to target the box on purpose is up for debate, of course, but personally, I'd like to think that he did. Maybe he was aware of how vital it was to his survival and damaged it on purpose. After he did strike it down though, you can just tell how weak Vader was without it. I mean, he struggled to even walk. But then again, this was all because of Sidious. He wanted Vader to have a strong connection to the dark side, so to do that, he made this suit become a living nightmare for him. If you want to learn more of everything that Sidious did to secretly sabotage Vader's suit, I did attach a video in the middle of the screen. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a little bit more today about the functions of Vader's suit. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you, always.